Harry Peacock, he's the Ipswich historian, historyouthere.com. G'day, Harry.
G'day, Danny. How you going?
Did you like that one, Harry? I'm a bogus gynecologist, got a shaky hand.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean, Danny, but anyway, we'll keep going.
God's sake, come on, Harry. Harry, Captain Thunderbolt was arrested in Ipswich. Now, explain who Captain Thunderbolt was at 8:13.
Yeah, well, Captain Thunderbolt was a bushranger. He was known as a gentleman bushranger and holds a record for the longest roaming bushranger in Australian history. They just couldn't catch him.
Wow, is that true?
Yeah, and this is back in 150 years ago, back in 1870. Now, Ipswich policeman Sergeant William Francis was keen to catch Thunderbolt after Francis had been stationed in Warwick in late 1867. That's when Thunderbolt, when he was on his way south after visiting Toowoomba, evaded capture at Warwick. At a Warwick race day. Yeah. So, and a few months later, Thunderbolt held up grazier Nicholas Hart and robbed him of his winnings from a Tenterfield race day. Wow. Now, in February 1870, a sensation was produced around Australia when it was reported that the notorious Captain Thunderbolt had been arrested in Ipswich. Wow. Sergeant Francis had arrested him and charged him with highway robbery. Now, the newspapers around Australia just ran with it. Now, a policeman who had seen Thunderbolt 7 years earlier was brought up to Ipswich from Sydney to identify him, but he actually couldn't say one way or the other if this was the right guy. Now, in the meantime, there were several Ipswich locals who were casting doubt over the case by saying there wasn't even the slightest resemblance. Now, Danny, there was no way that our Ipswich Police Sergeant Francis was letting his man go that easily. So Nicholas Hart was brought up from Tenterfield. Now, remember, he was a guy that was stuck up by Thunderbolt a couple of years earlier. Hart said he was certain that this wasn't the same man. Right. Now, Francis wanted an incorruptible police witness and sent for Senior Sergeant Thomas Kerrigan from down in Maitland. Right. Kerrigan knew Thunderbolt and had arrested his wife a few years earlier. Right. But he arrived too late because the Ipswich magistrate had already released the man who actually claimed his name was Joseph Ing or Joseph Leach. Now, Danny, I've not been able to find a trace of anyone anywhere of either of those names who might have been our prisoner. So the prisoner just disappeared into history. But I should tell you something about Sergeant Francis, who made the arrest. It's interesting that he'd always done a good job and had been involved in another high-profile case just a few years earlier. It was in 1866 that Francis had got into a public slinging match in Roma with the local priest, Reverend Father Larkin. Now, the priest successfully sued Sergeant Francis for defamation after it was claimed that Francis was calling him a clerical imposter, that he was drinking with bullock drivers and terrible things like that, and was suspended by the bishop. However, just 2 years later, Father Larkin was convicted in New Zealand of rioting and seditious libels, and later in Canada was charged with manslaughter, and he had indeed been suspended by the bishop. So, Danny, it seems our policeman from Ipswich had a nose for crooks, so maybe he got it right when he thought he'd arrested Captain Thunderbolt in 1870.
Harry, I'm not making this up. You have so many good, interesting stories about this great city. I heard that Captain Thunderbolt was caught taking a leak under the Ipswich Bridge, and he was arrested for indecent exposure. I just made that up. Harry, great stuff. How do we get onto your stuff?
Yeah, look, go to historyouthere.com. In fact, I'll have more of this story about Captain Thunderbolt on the website this time tomorrow morning, so you can read all about it now. Out there, that's historyouthere.com.
Now, you can hear all this on our podcasts, and don't forget, if you love Harry, get on the Facebook. What's the Facebook post thing, I think?
Facebook.com/West Bremer Radio, or simply just go on to find Wake Up with Dr. Dan and throw your comments in there.
And how do we get on to Harry?
Historyouthere.com.
You've got it all. Good on you, Harry. Great having you on the program, mate.